I wanted to talk about insomnia because I have seen a lot of videos um, that there are a lot of autistic people out there that suffer from insomnia. And I suffered from insomnia over a decade ago, and I sought treatment for that. And luckily, the treatment that I went through worked great for me. And so I thought I would share. And so, what made me think about insomnia was um, I don't have insomnia anymore, but occasionally I will be awakened in the middle of the night with a song playing so loud in my brain that it wakes me up out of a dead sleep. And I love the band Ghost. You could say they're one of my special interests, I guess. The music. I don't meddle in the personal lives of band members because I think everyone deserves their privacy, but I love the music so much. And their first album is just full of earworms for me, so I have to use it sparingly. But the other day, I was just like, oh, I haven't listened to Opus Eponymous in so long. I really need to listen to it. So I listened to it, I did, and I knew I was gonna lose sleep. I knew sleep would just have to suffer. And sure enough, just like every other time that I've listened to that album, I woke up with a song from the album just blasting in my brain. This time it was Satan Prayer, which is a little weird to have waking you up in the middle of the night in a pitch black house in the middle of nowhere. I'm used to it though. It doesn't bother me. I'm a weirdo. But so when I wake up from things like that, or when I get a song stuck in my head to that degree, I don't just have a melody or some lyrics. I have the entire song, all the vocals, all the instruments, every last note of the song in my head, just like it is on the recording, playing. It's like that in my brain, except a little muted. And I don't hear it in my ears. I'm not like having auditory hallucinations or anything. I just have the song in my brain. The whole thing, in the key in which it's written and everything. So there's not much I can do about that except just not listen to the album or the albums that do that to me very, very often. And that kind of sucks because they're always ones that I love. But so anyway, it got me thinking about insomnia and how I used to suffer from that. And the thing that worked for me, and I know a lot of people will just think that this is too easy, it's sleep hygiene, and that is it. I went to a psychologist. She taught me about sleep hygiene, and I had really bad sleep hygiene before. And so I got myself into a bedtime routine, do my routine every night, an hour before I actually go to bed. And I have the same routine and ritual, if you would prefer to call it that. It sounds cooler. And so I also had to remove all of the electronics from my bedroom, and I haven't had any kind of problem since. But at that time, I was having so many issues physically and mentally from the insomnia that I was suffering. And how that originated was I moved from Central Time to the West Coast at the Pacific Northwest, and then lived there a few months. Couldn't take the weather and the dreariness, and so I moved back. But the one thing I really liked about the Pacific Northwest was the time zone. It was the difference in the time change, because when I moved back, I would stay up late, which would have been my regular bedtime on West Coast time. But I would stay up late doing things that I wanted to do, like reading, binge watching shows, and painting. And I was not very self-disciplined. I would just be, one more chapter, one more episode, just finish painting this one thing. And I would be up till 3 o'clock in the morning, easily. And I had a couple of dogs then, and they were my little alarm clocks that woke me up every morning around 6. So I would get, at most, like 3 hours of sleep, and they were not good, peaceful hours of sleep. So because of that moving and the time change and, the personal things that were going on, even though it was a good change, it was still a major life change, and it wasn't great on my mental health, because that was the first time I had ever really been alone since, ever. That was my first time being really alone. And I had friends that I worked with, and it wasn't like I was totally alone and had no one to talk to or anything, but it was the first significant amount of time that had happened. And so I was kind of enjoying it, but I was also kind of nervous about it, and a little bit scared and stuff. So I would stay up really late at night and doing all the things that I wanted to do, while I wasn't, when I hadn't been alone, I didn't have the freedom and space and everything to do all those things. And it just started really wearing on me. Like, I have an arrhythmia, and that started acting up, and it's only PVCs, so it's preventricular contraction. So it's not terribly serious, but still, it's very uncomfortable. And, I just felt shaky and nervous, and like my nerves were just crawling. And I felt like I wasn't thinking rationally. I was having a lot of just cognitive issues, just because my brain wasn't receiving the rest that it needed. And so it was not doing well. And I just felt so overwhelmed, like physically and mentally overwhelmed. And I had depression, been diagnosed with depression, and was on one antidepressant and something for anxiety. So those two things, though, hadn't changed in years. So I didn't think that was really what was contributing to the insomnia. So, but it wasn't a really good solution to that issue. And so I just was really feeling more and more depressed, feeling more and more anxious. And I, was crying a lot and just feeling so anxious and depressed. And I don't really want to go into too much detail about it because it is personal, but I did end up going to, I was just at the end of my rope, and I ended up going to a mental health facility and talking to the intake coordinator there. And this person told me, and I don't even see how this is legal, but I guess they have their liability stuff to think about. She told me she couldn't let me leave until I made an appointment with a psychiatrist or psychologist. Like, I had to do that while I was there, and like she had to witness it. So we made the appointment. I had decided I didn't want to do that because she said that I wouldn't have any kind of creative tools available. I wouldn't be able to paint or draw or do anything like that while I was there, and that I wouldn't be released until the doctor said so. And I was just like, okay, that's not gonna work for me. And I just still felt like just desperate for something, some kind of help. And I was like, wasn't sure if it was, it was a chicken or the egg scenario. I wasn't sure if it was the insomnia that was causing the worsening of the deterioration of my mental health, or if it was vice versa. So I made an appointment with a psychologist there. And when I went to see the psychologist, she said, we are going to address the insomnia first, because insomnia, anyone who's, sleep deprived, like, they can have all kinds of different symptoms that may mimic symptoms of other conditions. So if we eliminate the insomnia, that is something that's, I guess, easier to attack and get rid of. So we'll do that first, and then we'll think about, other mental health conditions if that doesn't make all of the other symptoms go away. But she recommended that I go to a psychiatrist and get my medicine checked out. And like, I'd been on the same dosage for years. And this psychiatrist, she reminded me of one of the mean girls. And I'm pretty sure she was a mean girl. But she was like, we're going to up this prescription, up this dosage, and we're going to up this dosage, and I'm going to write you a new one, and I'm going to write one for sleep. And she's saying adding all this medication. And I'm just thinking, I'm 100 pounds. You're going to turn me into a zombie. That is just, that's absolutely unacceptable to me. I couldn't do that. So I went back to the psychologist and told her about that experience. And I said, I'm okay with what I'm on right now. I don't want to add anything or increase anything. I want to take care of this naturally, if that's possible. So she's, we can do that with, you just have to do the whole proper sleep hygiene thing, which takes a little self-discipline and some, planning and all of that. And I'm like, that's fine. I can do self-discipline if it's gonna, save my mental health. Like, I thought that that was it for me. I thought I was losing myself and would never find my way back. And it was just awful times, very dark times. And I wanted to get myself out of that, but to do it in such a way that I didn't give myself an additional problem. I didn't want to be exchanging one problem for another, which is what I see happening with people who rely too heavily on sleep aids or any kind of sleep prescription or other, medications to fall asleep. And so I wanted it to be my own body's natural chemicals and circadian rhythm. So I just had to go through the whole bedroom, remove all of the electronics. I still had my phone in there, and I told her, like, I use my phone as an alarm clock. Is that okay? And she said, if you must, but just make sure that it's face down on the table, and if you don't have enough self-control for that, put it somewhere out of reach. And so I was okay leaving it on the table. I was so desperate. I wanted to do everything right, like by the book. And so I said, what about, runaway thoughts? And she said, just keep a notepad by your bed, notepad and pen. And if you have any, brilliant thoughts or concerns or, just a to-do list or whatever, just jot it down in your notebook, and then it'll be right there on paper for you when you wake up, and you won't have to, like, I'll be hyper alert, if I think about something that I need to do the next day, and I'll just be like, oh my gosh, I can't forget it. And that eliminates that, like, hyper alert feeling. And so that worked really well. And it's nice to have a little notepad to jot down a dream or two. Sometimes my dreams are crazy vivid and pretty wild sometimes. So I like having a little something I can write my dreams out on, a dream journal kind of. But since it has been over a decade since I had insomnia, I do put notes in my note app on my phone now if I don't have anything to write with. But yeah, it took me about a month to get into the rhythm. But so I had to, start eliminating things from my diet, like caffeine and sugar, after a certain time. Not eliminate them altogether, but not that. But like, I couldn't have caffeine after noon, after 12 p.m. I couldn't have any caffeine after that time. And I couldn't have any sugar, like, after, I can't remember, 7, something like that. And, my bedtime would be around 11 p.m. So, and those two things, you wouldn't think would just really keep a person awake, but they will. I'm so sensitive to anything, basically. I'm sensitive to caffeine, to alcohol, to, any kind of natural substances that, aren't legal everywhere in the United States now. Just everything, I react to it so much that it's just better for me to lay off it all, everything. And I'm even down to half-calf coffee because I'm that sensitive to caffeine. And one night I thought I'd have a cup of hot cocoa because that sounded really good. And I make my own with dark chocolate. And so that night I go to bed at my regular time, and I'm awake until 2 a.m. because of some hot cocoa. That is how sensitive I am to caffeine and sugar, and I'm just very reactive to things. So yeah, I had to cut out, alcohol too, because it will make me feel like, after a certain time, it will make me feel kind of weird. It's probably something to do with the alcohol and your blood sugar. But so yeah, basically nothing but water a couple of hours before bed. And so I did all of those things though. My bedroom now is just very Spartan. It's like, it's a bed, a table, and a lamp, and a chest of drawers, and that's it. Nothing at all in there. So but I sleep like a rock. I have hypermobility also, so whenever I got my memory foam mattress and pillow, that really improved the quality of my sleep, because I will, anything else, and I will definitely wake up with all kinds of aches and pains, but that the memory foam works great for that. So I have really good sleep now, and the only time it's ever been messed up was when I went to Norway and got jet lag, and it took me a couple of months to catch up on my sleep, but I was sleeping excessively. And so the only time it's been messed up was in the opposite direction. So anyway, I hope that some of that information helped somebody. You can look up good sleep hygiene, and you'll find all kinds of info on that. Adding a little exercise during the day also helps. And yeah, so, and you don't have to ask, make an appointment and go ask a doctor if you can make your sleep environment more sleep friendly. So it's a nice free way to improve your sleep quality. So it's worth a try.